What's up, Zoo? Gordy here yet again with another week in the Counterculture series. So far, we've been walking through the Sermon of the Mount from Jesus as he describes to his disciples what it looks like to live a Christian life counter to the world around them. The first week we looked at what it was to be poor in spirit. Last week we looked at blessed are those who mourn. And today we continue on in this series with the next one. So open your Bibles to Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. And I'll give you a second to get there. But the next one is one that the first two were very obvious when it came to why they were counterculture. When you hear poor in spirit, when you hear blessed are those who mourn, those were two things that were very obvious in the sense of we don't normally want to be poor. We don't normally want to mourn something. Today's is a little different. Hopefully you're there. It's Matthew chapter 5, verse 5, and it says this: "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Again, it says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And when we hear this word meek, it's not a word that is used very often, okay? Not normally when you start to describe people do you use the word meek, all right? Like normally you describe somebody and you say they're smart, they're strong, they're attractive, they're funny, they're athletic, whatever it is, but not normally do you use the word meek. And it's not normally a word that I think when somebody's describing you, you want to hear said about you either. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, it's not a word that if somebody's describing me, I want them to say, "Oh yeah, Gordy's meek." Because it's just what does meek even mean? What is a meek person? And so as we get through this series today, I think the first thing we have to ask is, well, what even is a meek person? Who are the meek? And how is a meek person counterculture to the world we live in today? And I was thinking through this, what came to my brain is this idea of the world that we live in. All right, I don't know if any of you have ever played the game King of the Hill before. Right? It's a classic childhood game. It's very simple in concept. Okay, you can play it on top of a hill. You can play it on a dirt mound. You can play it on a tube in water. You can play it on a couch, anything. Okay, but the simple concept is this: that you want to be the person on top, and you want to make sure that you stay on top and nobody else conquers you. You want to make sure that everybody else gets pushed down, stays below you. You want to be king of whatever it is that you're on top of. King of the hill. It's simple. It's easy to grasp, and it's a very fun childhood game. But along those lines, we kind of live in a world and a culture that the whole world says, be king, be in charge, be on top of whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you're a part of. Stand out. Put yourself above others. All right, whatever it is that you have to do to accomplish that, make sure that you are king. Make sure that you are queen. Make sure that you are in charge, that you stand out, that everybody can see you, and you have a distinction among the rest. You're king. It's the same idea why junior high boys, not the junior high boys watching this video, I'm not calling you out, other junior high boys, when they're playing like basketball or any type of thing, when junior high girls all of a sudden show up, it turns into a different type of basketball game. Now all of a sudden, they forget that they're friends playing basketball game, and they do whatever possible to stand out to the girls that are watching. They do whatever they possibly can to make themselves look the best. All right, they smack talk. They make each other look bad. They make fun of each other when they mess up. They do whatever they possibly can to make sure that not their friends are impressed by them, but the girls watching are impressed by them. It just comes natural. That's what you do. All right, you got to make sure you stand out. You got to make sure you're the rest. You're the best of everybody else. Okay, you now it doesn't matter what your friend thinks or what they feel like. Nope, smack talk them all you can, because you have to make sure those girls watching that you have a crush on, and they think you're amazing. Okay, that is the idea, the culture, this thinking behind the world that we live in. And you know it's true, because when you go to school, when you interact with other people, when you're a part of a friend group, you want to make sure that your joke is the funniest. You want to make sure that you stand out the most You want to make sure that you are the most stylish, the most good looking. You want to make sure you're the best at whatever it is that you're doing. You want to make sure that you have the most followers, that you get the most laughs. You want to make sure that you're the best. That's kind of the world we live in. I know it to be true because I do the same thing. All growing up, I wanted to be the best every time I stepped on the baseball field. I wanted to make sure that I was better than everybody else. When I become a youth pastor even, I want to make sure that my youth ministry is the best. I want to make sure that everybody else sees, oh, look how many kids are coming. Look at this, look at that. It's the world that we live in. It says stand out. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that you are better than others. And so when we ask, well, what are the meek? They are kind of the opposite of what I just described. They are the opposite of what the world says we should be, which is stand out, be better than people, make sure that others know that you're the best. The meek, on the other hand, they are humble. They are, in some versions, instead of the word meek, it says gentle. They are forgiving. All right, they're patient. They're content. Okay, we'll kind of break through what I just said. They're humble. Okay, that's the opposite of being proud. We live in a world that is very proud, right? When you do something cool, do you want to keep it to yourself? No. You want everybody to know. You want everybody to see your accomplishments. Okay, you're going to post about it. You're going to make sure you talk about it. You're going to brag to others. You are proud. A meek person is humble. They realize that what they do is for God, not for everybody else. Okay, their accomplishments, it doesn't matter who sees them because God sees them. They're humble. Okay, they're gentle. We live in a world that is very harsh sometimes. It's kind of this Black Friday shopping mentality. If you know what I mean, if you've ever been Black Friday shopping before, it's everybody for themselves, right? Okay, you line up forever, you wait in line, and when the doors open, it's chaos. It's madness. It's get out of my way. I got a flat screen to buy. I got deals to get. Get out of here. I'm gonna run you over. If you trip and fall and you get trampled, well, that's on you. Everybody for themselves. We live in a world that's harsh. It says if you can't keep up, you get left behind. If you don't fit in, you get left behind. If you don't talk in a certain way, if you don't dress a certain way, if you're not good enough, you get left behind. Instead, a meek person is gentle, meaning they love others. They care about others. They seek out others when they know that they need it. The meek are gentle. The meek are also patient. Means that they are not quickly angered. They don't quickly run into fights. They don't seek out fights. This is the craziest thing I think about the world that we live in right now, especially in junior high. I see this all the time. We almost look for our next drama. We almost look for our next fight. We look to be offended. It's crazy. Okay, because nobody, I think, really enjoys being in an argument, being in drama, being angry. But at the same time, with the world that we live in today almost says, look for the next opportunity for somebody to offend you. And even if they don't mean it, try to pick apart what they said so that you can figure out how to be offended by that, and you can get angry, and you can cause drama, and you can make sure that everybody else knows how terrible of a person that person is so that you can push them down and you can look better. It's crazy. The meek person instead is patient. And they decide, I'm not easily angered. I'm gonna have forgiveness. I'm gonna let it slide. I'm gonna love others. I'm not gonna get angry. I'm not gonna start drama. I'm not gonna start a fight. I'm gonna forgive and I'm gonna let go because I know what truly matters is God's love for me instead. It's just gonna let it slide. And then finally, the meek person is content, meaning they're not going around looking at what they don't have. They're not going around looking at what other people have. They're not going around looking at what they're missing out on what they could have or what they could be a part of. They're content. And then the second part of this passage that is so, once we understand what a meek person is, which is humble, gentle, patient, forgiving, content, things very opposite from what we're used to. The second part says, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. This isn't the only part in the Bible that we see this in. If you have the Bible with you, flip over to Psalm 37. Psalm 37. We will read verse 7 and a couple verses after. But Psalm 37, verse 7 says this: Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Like I said, patience, that is a key attribute of somebody that is meek. Wait patiently for God. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way. Fret is just a fancy word for worry, or get anxious, or focus on. Okay, so it says, do not worry yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. So it says, don't worry yourself about somebody that is doing evil stuff around you. Verse 8, it says, refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil. For the evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. In just a little while, the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace. Again, this is Old Testament, Psalm 37, and what we just read was all the way in Matthew 5:5. Two completely different parts of the Bible, and yet both say the meek shall inherit the earth. And I love what it says leading up to this in Psalm 37. It talks about how we as people sometimes can our focus is on others. Our focus is on people around us. We have a hard time focusing on God. It says, don't worry about what people are doing around you. Your eyes should be on God, not on the people around you. The problem is we have a hard time doing that. As much as we want to focus on God, I experience it all the time as well. We say, oh, okay, I'm gonna not let this thing bother me. I'm gonna not let what this person said about me get in my head. I'm gonna not let this happen. I'm not gonna let my mind go here. And yet, over time, what happens is the world wears us down. We go, nope, I'm giving in. I'm going to respond. I want revenge. I want my voice to be heard. I want to get this. I want to get rid of that. And we give in. And we have such a hard time just focusing on God. And it says, don't let the evildoers, the people around you, distract you. It says, if you keep your eyes on God, you'll inherit the earth. And yet it's this idea of the world, that the earth is going to do whatever it possibly can to distract us. It's the way it works. It's the way Satan works. It goes, I'm going to do whatever I can to distract you from the way you should live. It's like if you've ever watched a college basketball game before. The home crowd, what they do a lot of times at college basketball games is they will go behind the opponent's basket, and it's really funny to watch, actually. It's quite enjoyable, is they'll take like giant, big old like cutout heads, or they get a ton of noisemakers, and when it's the time for the opponent to shoot free throws, they do whatever they possibly can. They throw up the giant heads, making ridiculous faces, they do their noisemakers, they do whatever possible to distract the opponent from making the basket. And it's really hilarious because you watch the opponent getting ready to shoot the free throw, and there's all these just distractions behind them. And if the opponent doesn't completely focus on the basket, all that noise, all those distractions is just going to get in their head. And they're not going to be able to make the basket. And in the same way, that's what the world does. It says, yeah, you got a Bible here that very specifically teaches you how to follow God, but let's do whatever we possibly can to distract you, to get in your head, to draw you away from God, because we don't want you to live with a meek personality. We don't want you to be humble. We don't want you to be gentle. We don't want you to be patient or forgiving or content. Instead, we want you to be the opposite of all of those things, because we know if you are the opposite of all those things, you are going to have a really, really hard time following God, and you are going to have a really, really hard time inheriting the earth. And it's just this idea of, where are your eyes focused? Are they focused on God, or are they focused on what's going on around you? Because that's going to tell you which way you're probably going to live, whether you're going to be humble or proud, whether you're going to be gentle or harsh, whether you're going to be patient or angry. It's going to tell you that. It's going to dictate that. And it's just really, really important to understand just this idea. And we go, well, how come a meek person inherits the world? How come a meek person, somebody who doesn't stand out, somebody who doesn't look all that impressive, somebody who doesn't, you know, seem to be all that popular. How come they get the world? Well, you look at Jesus as an example. When you read the stories of Jesus, we see all the attributes of a meek person, and yet, did Jesus have no popularity on his time at earth? No, quite the opposite. Jesus was all the attributes of a meek person. Yes, he could do crazy miracles, which helps, but people still ran to Jesus. People still wanted to be with Jesus. People still listened to what he had to say, because I think our world is so desperate for somebody who is humble, for somebody who is gentle, for somebody who is patient, for somebody who is different than the world around them. All right, we live in a world that so wants to just stand out that it's fake. You see, a meek person is not fake. They're real. They're genuine. The love that they have to give is actual real love. When I say fake, I know a lot of you immediately in your brains go, oh, I know somebody that's fake. I have been treated this way by somebody who is fake. I thought they were my friend. I thought they cared about me, and then you have no idea what they said behind my back. You have no idea what they did to me. You have no idea the circumstances, and that's the point. We live in a world that says, do what you can, whatever it takes to stand out, to earn people's affection, to make, and if it comes at the cost of making others feel bad, well, it's worth it. Nope. Jesus says, live different. Be humble, care about people, love people, don't be fake. And sometimes part of not being fake is that you're vulnerable and you open up and you talk about how you're not perfect and you talk about how the mistakes you've made, which our world would say never do that because it's going to make you look bad. The meek person knows that they're imperfect, that God is the only one who is perfect, and God is the king, and that we should just follow God. He's the king of the hill. We're not the king of the hill. We will never be. And if we can just give in and kind of humble ourselves to God's level and open up to others, they will see that as well. And they will go, let me humble myself in the process. Let me open up because I saw you did it. And let's worship God and follow God together. And one meek person can have the ability to have an impact on somebody else, to teach them how to be humble, to teach them how to be patient, to teach them how to be gentle, instead of all the opposite things that the world says. Because I know meek is a weird sounding word. Believe me, if I see a list of things people are describing me as, I don't think meek would be something that I would get really excited about seeing. Right? When you're trying to impress the junior high girls on the basketball court, and one goes, oh, he's so meek. That doesn't sound good. I believe me, I know. Like, that's not the word you want them to describe you as. But when it comes to our lives in the Bible, the meek people are actually those that stand out because they're different than everybody else. They don't put others down. They don't have fake love. Instead, they're living as close to Christ as they can get. And God says they will inherit the world because they're different and they stand out for good things instead of bad. Hopefully that encouraged you guys on this Sunday. See you Tuesday. Miss you. See you next time.